Welcome. My name is Susan Shaner of Sage Leadership Strategies, LLC, and I'm your guest host this evening of Community Forum. And I have the great pleasure to have with me Jim Schmotter, who is the president of Western Connecticut State University, otherwise known as WestConn in Danbury. Welcome, Jim.
It's great to be here, Susan.
It's great to have you. I'm wondering, before we start talking about the university, if you could just give us a brief overview on your background, your career, and how you came to WestConn and how long you've been here.
Sure. I've been here almost 4 years now. Came to WestConn as president in August of 2004. Most of my career before that had been in business schools. I was dean of the business schools at Lehigh University in Pennsylvania and Western Michigan University. And for about 14 years I was at Cornell earlier in my career, where I taught and I was an administrator. When I left there, I was associate dean and director of international studies at the Johnson Graduate School of Management, MBA education. Although my career has been in business schools, I have a PhD in colonial American history. I'm one of those humanities types that went bad and went to business schools. And I think it all kind of comes full circle, now being in leading an institution that offers professional programs on a liberal arts base. It's really been a lot of fun being here, and I'm able to use so many things from my education. WestConn's a great place, and after 4 years, I have been having more fun in my career. I can't remember when I have.
Well, I'm sure your background with business school probably has helped being the administrator and leader of the university.
Well, it does. I mean, it gives you kind of a discipline in looking at, at how you manage people, how you manage finances, how you market. WestConn, employs 850 people. It's $100 million budget in each year. So it's a sizable organization, and I think having some sense of which side the credits are on, which side the
balance sheet,
the debits are on, it makes a lot of sense. But ultimately, a university is about teaching and faculty, and I think the fact that I come from the liberal arts gives me a kind of credibility with our arts and sciences faculty, who are sometimes a little distrustful, and probably rightly so, of business types. So I try to use both sides of my background in this job.
Well, and they know that your initial background is as an academic, right?
Yeah, so I had that credit, really.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Wow, so what originally attracted you to WestConn in particular?
Well, I thought this was an institution that really was poised to move to another level. And I think a lot of things we've done have borne that out. The physical plant had received a lot of investment from the state in the past decade. We have a really strong faculty, hired a lot of really exciting, young, new, energetic faculty, had a community that was together on a mission. I mean, although it wasn't quite perhaps as enunciated as clearly as it is now, but people care about students. And ensuring student success and providing access for students to achieve their dreams and dream new dreams, really. And that was all here. Plus, the location was very attractive. I mean, a lot of what we do really, I think, stems from our location, not that far from New York, in a very diverse and strong economic community here in Danbury, and a very diverse community here in Danbury. All those things are very attractive, and this really seemed like an opportunity where you could work with a number of like-minded people to really move an institution forward. There are a lot of presidencies, and I was contacted about some of them in the country, where that's just not possible because the state is in recession. I lived in Michigan before I came here. The economics there really make it very difficult to do many things. It's different here in Connecticut, and certainly we've seen that to be the case in the 4 years I've been here. So all those things attracted me, and I wasn't oversold. If anything, I feel more strongly about that promise than when I came.
Wow, that's a nice feeling after almost 4 years,
exactly.
still feel as excited about
Well,
it.
yeah, really, and actually more so, because we're starting to accomplish. We're not just talking about dreams and aspirations.
Yeah.
We've really done things, and that's what's exciting about it.
So you said that there's a mission, but it wasn't as pronounced. How have you crystallized the vision?
Well, what we did when I came here, the first year, we commenced a process which we called Values and Vision, and we had actually more than 70 structured conversations with different stakeholder groups, students, faculty, alumni, members of the community, people who hire our graduates, really focus groups. We ended up talking to more than 600 people.
Oh, wow.
And compiled all of these observations and sort of worked through them with some outside facilitation, came back together as a community, and from that started to see recurring themes. We talked about our strengths and our weaknesses, and we talked about our opportunities and what we wanted to be, how we could take the next step from being kind of a local commuter education school into something very different, which is what we are. So over the past year, that really developed into a full-fledged strategic plan to pursue this vision we have, where we really focus upon our location and our outstanding faculty to create a university experience that's very much like a New England's best private universities, but at a public university price. Small classes, a lot of technology in the classroom, kind of the same portfolio of programs you see at places like Ithaca College or Wagner University or Quinnipiac, professional programs on an arts and sciences base. And that's kind of the value proposition that we present. That's what we want to be. And, we feel that that's not an unrealistic aspiration. As I said to the faculty when we were talking about the strategic plan, at one point I said, an unrealistic expectation is when I expected the Lakers to call me every year to play. I was a basketball player in college. That's unrealistic. This is realistic, and you see it in so many things in our physical plan, in the kind of students that we're getting, in the programs that we have, in the kind of learning experiences that we're expanding outside of the university, to the Danbury community, to New York, overseas.
So it sounds like you've done some work around not only listening to the community, making some changes in response to that, upgrading some programs, changing it from being just a commuter or bedroom school to having students that actually, more students that live on campus.
And that's one of the interesting challenges that we face, because more students want to live here than we have room for.
Well, that's a nice position to be in.
Currently, we're among the fastest growing public universities in the Northeast.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
The fastest growing in Connecticut. And we now have, about 4,200 full-time undergraduates. 1,800 of them live on campus. And more would if there were space for them.
Well, I know you built the garage, in the last 3 or 4 years? That big garage on White Street?
For community. Well, since I've been here, we finished that garage. We opened a new science center, which is a terrific building.
Is that on Roberts Avenue? Or?
Yes. On the Midtown campus. We opened a new student center on the West Side campus. We're currently renovating one of our residence halls. And so one of the things we're wrestling with is success and growth, because we're moving so fast. So I think that this kind of vision that we have, where a student will come to us and seldom have a class of more than 30 students, 40 at the most, throughout the 4 years experience here, taught by regular faculty, not teaching assistants.
So they're really able to get individual attention.
They're really able to get individual attention. 100% of our classrooms have internet access and all the technological bells and whistles that allow faculty members to do whatever they want to do. By next year, we'll be 100% wireless throughout the whole university. So a lot of those kinds of things. The other thing, again, this learning opportunity, students now, we're actively using our location a lot more than we used to, I think.
Well, you said, you've brought it up a couple of times, so I want to make sure, when you say your location, you mean
Fairfield County,
close to New York, but also sort of country still.
Country still, exactly.
Okay.
So it's, it's I think parents say it's a safe, kind of environment, but you get on the train and you can be in New York in, an hour and 15 minutes, or like for our students in our arts programs, you look at the artistic resources, the other number of visual artists who live in Litchfield County, and we have links with those people too.
So they come in as guest speakers?
As guest speakers, guest critics. Our Master of Fine Arts in Painting and Illustration, for example, uses them very much. Our new Master of Fine Arts in Professional Writing program has guest lectures by people like Gay Talese and Frank DeFord, and really people who make their living by the pen, as well as others who act as critics and coaches in that program. Lesser known people, but still professional writers. So we take advantage of that. And our music program, I'll give you an example. We have a new relationship in China with the University in China. And we had an exchange in music with them, which is kind of interesting. Although we're doing business, our students went there and sang Gilbert Sullivan, and then learned Chinese opera. And we had Chinese students come and do the same thing, who did their own Chinese opera, but also sang in a Gilbert and Sullivan opera last year, Pirates of Penzance. Well, when the Chinese students come here, they get to go with our faculty backstage at the at the New York City Opera. They get to see serious music in Hartford, in New Haven, in Boston. They get to go see The Lion King. All these things. It's hard to do that in Iowa, or. Well,
that's true, because WestConn's pretty equidistant between. Well, a little closer to New York, but also Boston.
You can get to Boston. You can get to Boston. Yeah. One of our courses, a faculty member in American Studies is teaching a course she calls Rhodes Scholars, and they're visiting Emily Dickinson's house and Emerson's house, and kind of taking a van and going around to all these sort of
within 2 hours. They can get to a lot of places.
And ending up in Harlem, where the writers of the Harlem Renaissance live. So you can drive all those cool to take advantage of that. So that's why I say the location. The other way the location works is on the business side. I mean, Danbury and Fairfield County and Westchester County is a very diverse, healthy regional economy. And our business school has long taken advantage of that. Almost all of our business students will have real-time projects for real organizations outside the school, which is a real plus, because they get to really apply their courses in that setting. And part of the reason we can do that is this is not a one-company town. I've lived in places like Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which was one industry, and this is so different. So students can pursue small high-tech firms. They can work for social service agencies. Some of them go to New York. We've had communication students who've worked, on the Rachel Ray show and those kinds of places. So again, it's this location thing that really works for us. We think it's a real strength. The other piece of it is, as you look at the 21st century, you look at what it's going to be like in terms of demographics. The human diversity in Danbury, 40-some first languages in Danbury public schools.
Is that what it is, 40?
That's what I understand. You hear these numbers, 42, 43.
Yeah, it's up there.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's such a diverse community. And, so we want to use that as a laboratory, to really have students realizing you're going to be dealing in the 21st century with people who are different than you, people who come from different places, both, in terms of heritage, physically. And Danbury allows us to do that, this region, a lot easier. Again, a lot of universities have to kind of import that, or send students away. And it's not just the obvious ones. I mean, clearly there's a large Spanish-speaking, a large Brazilian population here, but there's as you know, there's a large Southeast Asian, and there's these other older established groups, the Portuguese and the Italians, and all these different groups, and you can learn from that. So that's what I say, how we view location as a comparative advantage.
So you're really tapping into all of the resources and really leveraging the strengths of the diversity.
Right. We think as a regional public university, we don't want to just contribute to the region, and we do in a lot of ways, which we can
Yes.
talk about. But we want to draw upon it too.
Yes.
We see it as a partnership, really. So many things that we're doing now, we try to do in partnership with the community. We had this wonderful Martin Luther King Day celebration about 3 weeks ago. We had standing room only in Ives Concert Hall, so we had at least 800 people in there. With the speaker who we had lined up was one of the Little Rock Nine, one of the as a student who had integrated Little Rock Central High School. But we had this wonderful gospel choir made up of all the African American churches, and you looked out at the audience, and it was the whole tapestry of Danbury. I mean, there were the folks from the African American churches, there were our students and faculty, there were students from the South Kent School in the balcony with their ties looking real preppy,
Yeah.
It was just really great, and I use that as an example of how we bring it all together. Another way we're bringing it together is we're working with United Way and Danbury Hospital in the city to do a community health scorecard, which we will be kind of maintaining a regular sort of scorecard on how the greater Danbury region does on all kinds of indices having to do with health. Again, we're partnering with other important entities to accomplish that.
So it helps the school and the students in terms of doing a research project, collecting the
Exactly.
data,
Yes.
helping them analyze
Precisely,
it,
yeah.
looking at the metrics and all of that.
Yeah.
And obviously it benefits the community.
Yeah.
So what is your goal and objective in terms of WestConn's relationship to the community?
Well, we want to be clearly seen as the hometown university.
Okay.
We also, I think, really believe that we're a bigger part of the of the community than we probably have been in the past. We're bigger, obviously, than we used to be. As we have more students coming here, we have a bigger economic footprint. We did an economic impact study for the year 2005, and using Department of Economic Statistics multipliers. We found that in 2005, WestConn students and faculty and guests and visitors and everything that we do contributed $213 million in positive economic benefit to the region.
Oh, wow.
So again, we're a sizable, we're a $100 million organization with 850 employees and 6,000 students, and so we're sizable, and we're playing a bigger role, and we want to help Danbury be a more attractive community. It's already very attractive, but I mean the kind of cultural aspects that we contribute, the way our students tend to graduate and stay. I mean, one of the things about the Connecticut State University system, us included, 89% of our students come from Connecticut, about 53% from Fairfield County. They tend to stay in Connecticut, much more than students who go to the privates or
So is
to
that what you target? Do you have an ideal student that you target, or that just happens to be what you attract?
That's who we attract.
Yeah.
I mean, we're attracting students more broadly, I believe, than we used to, quite frankly.
Due to the technology, the increase in the programs?
Yes, I think so. We have this interesting phenomenon here at Western that we don't see at our sister institutions, Southern, Central, or Eastern. And we have a lot of transfers coming back from private universities.
Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure.
Huh.
You think
it's just cost, or?
It's cost, it's experience. I think sometimes it's people who said, well, I'm going to go away to college, and they come back to Fairfield County, and they say, well, the students have said this to me. They say, well, I'm going to I'll come back, I'll go to WestConn for a semester, or a year, and figure out what I want to do. And they come back and fall in love with the place. And they're some of their most active, contributing students, who are involved in our debate society, which beats Ivy League teams in, in debate competitions, or they play sports, or they're campus leaders, or they're in fraternities or sororities. And it's funny because I think often it's, well, I have to get away. As one of my colleagues said, well, he told me the schools his daughter is looking at, she's not looking at WestConn, and they're all outside of Connecticut.
Right, yeah.
He said, well, that's because I'm in Connecticut. That's why she went to the outside of Connecticut. And that always happens. But we see that, and we'll find...
So it sounds like, Jim, almost that they come back saying this is like a stopgap.
Exactly.
Or just, an interim, transitionary place to be, to kind of collect their thoughts, but then they end up really loving it and getting really engaged.
That's right. That happens a lot. I think we're also seeing, as we develop stronger programs across the board and have more visibility and become more selective. I think that there was a time when probably most people said, WestConn is an open admissions place. You can't go anywhere else. Go there.
A safety school.
Safety school.
Yeah.
Now we're accepting fewer than 60% of our applicants, so
it's a lot more competitive.
It's a lot more competitive. And in some of our programs is very competitive. Music, for example, where you have to do an audition as well as have the grades and test scores. We see some areas, some particular areas where we're drawing students on a regional basis. Music, meteorology, because we have the only meteorology program in southern New England and in Connecticut.
Yes, my daughter's school actually just went. She's only in 5th grade, but they went to the planetarium. The other day.
And we have that
she
too.
raved about that.
Yeah.
So you have some kind of partnership with area schools?
We do. They go on a regular basis to our planetarium. Yeah. But there are those. Our justice and law program is very strong. Again, it's a little different than just criminology. We send a lot of people to law school from that major. So we have these various programs that are strong. Especially since we have the new science building, our science enrollments are increasing much faster than the national norms, which is a good thing because we need more scientists. And I think part of that is teaching, is the way we teach. Part of that is the attractiveness of the of the setting. But it's interesting. I talk about our faculty. A lot of places talk about this issue of women in science. Well, in our science faculty, in chemistry and biology, women are way overrepresented.
Isn't that
the couple guys in chemistry kind of we're overwhelmed, and I think, but that's great for role models.
Yes, definitely.
And I think we don't seem to have problems with that. One of our younger biologists, female, won the Connecticut State University Teaching Award for the whole system last year. Those kind of people are there, and attracting students.
So let me ask you this. You've talked about part of it is the way we teach.
Yeah.
How would you characterize this? Is the way that the professors teach at WestConn that's different than other places?
Well, I think it's a couple things. I think there is a clear commitment to student learning at this place. I'm not saying that's not the case everywhere I've ever worked. But I think we know what we are. We're not trying to be a major research institution. That's not what we do. Our faculty do research. Our faculty are scholarly active, but they teach more than their peers at UConn or Cornell or Yale. They teach more classes, and I think people tend to opt to come to a place like ours because they're interested in teaching. Because you want to have that interaction with undergraduate students.
So the focus still stays on the teaching piece.
Very much so, very much so.
So you've characterized the school as, on the one hand having solid academics, very rich programs, but you've also said you like to keep this very accessible, homegrown university, town school flavor too. Have that blend.
Well, accessibility is important, and because we, as a public university, we're really charged with educating the future workforce and citizenry of the state, much more than the privates, or I would argue in some ways than UConn, because UConn's mission as a flagship Research One institution, they have a lot more out-of-state students than we have. It's kind of a wise guy way to say it, but if Yale disappeared, if they invested all their money in subprimes and something went away,
Yeah.
The students who would go to Yale would go to Brown or Cornell or Duke or Northwestern or somewhere. They'd still be somewhere.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if the community colleges, if we were stupid enough to get rid of the community colleges,
Yeah.
industry would step in with some of the training that
Yeah.
they do. But if we went away, our students would have no place to go.
So you're saying you fill a unique niche?
I think for students who have financial constraints,
Yeah.
for students who may have, kind of locational kinds of constraints or preferences,
Yes.
But, I think that when you look at our costs versus private higher education now, even though there's a lot of financial aid and discounting that goes on at the privates, we're very attractive. I mean, we're the second most affordable publics in New England. Only Rhode Island College is more affordable.
Really?
We are, yeah.
So you're really focusing on value.
I think so, yeah. I mean, that's what we
Yeah.
really think, but I think this whole access business is really important to stress. I mean, we want to make sure that we look like the state of Connecticut. We want to make sure that we afford these opportunities. One of the successful programs we've been working over the past couple of years is a partnership with Danbury and Bethel High Schools, getting students ready to come in and not need
Yes.
remedial courses. It's
Yep.
been very successful. I mean,
Where they can take classes. Yeah.
Well, no, where we're working with high school teachers with our placement instruments. So
Oh,
they're
I
teaching
see.
starting the junior year. So students come in and don't have to take our remedial classes. So it's much more, they take the same tests that our entering freshmen take when,
Yes.
when they're juniors, and then again when they're seniors. And the faculty work on the areas that are weak. And we've cut down the number of remedial sections we have to offer by an appreciable number. And we've
Wow.
seen much higher retention from the students from Danbury and
That's
Bethel who've
great.
gone through those programs. So we do want to reach out and, in various ways.
So Jim, you are so energetic about the school. It sounds like you've done a lot in your 4 years and continue to grow. What would you, at the end of whatever the time frame is, whenever you leave the school, what would you like to leave behind? What would you like your legacy to be? Just a headline.
Yeah, well, I think that everyone who's had this job, Ruth Haas was president from 1947 to 1971. I'm not going to make it that long, I'm pretty sure. She left her mark on it. My predecessor, Jim Roche, really started building the place and creating the physical. I would hope that during my time here, we'll really solidify this transformation into this public-private kind of institution.
Okay, great.
I think the other thing is that we'll build a relationship where Danbury will become more of a college town.
Okay, great.
That's what we
now,
hope
if
to do.
somebody wants to find out more about WestConn, should they go to the website?
Website, www.wcsu.edu.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, viewers, for joining us this evening and learning more about WestConn. And until next time, I'm Susan Shaner with Community Forum.
So that went